It's somehow the end of 2023, and as Dumbledore would say, another year gone. They seem to get faster and faster as the years go on. Anyway, enough of that. This video is not in regards to the speed of time or our morality. No, this video is indeed to look at the game that came out at the beginning of the year, and to see 10 months on, has it lived up to its hype? That game, of course, is Hogwarts Legacy, an open world adventure game set in and around the surrounding areas of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. In the run up to Christmas, I have gone back to the game I have waited for years. I have not touched it for a few months, but as I've been doing walkthroughs for the past Potter games, check out my channel by the way, I decided to pick up Legacy again before the year was out. And while playing it, it all came back to me how much I was in awe when I first picked up the game back in February, and seeing others still talk about it, it got me thinking, while it didn't make a splash in the award season, did this game live up to its own hype? There were many great games released this year, such as Spider-Man 2, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Jedi Survivor, and of course Game of the Year, Baldur's Gate 3, along with some truly terrible ones. Gollum, Kong, Game Before. But none, in my truly humble opinion, had the hype, the expectation, the yearning to play than Hogwarts Legacy. To quote another brilliant character from the Wizarding world, Sirius Black, we did our waiting, 12 years of it, in Azkaban, or this cruel world we live in, shall I say. As the last of the Potter games / movies came back in 2011, and no, I'm not counting Connect Potter because 1, it ruins the joke, 2, it is not worthy of being considered Potter game, never mind an actual game. Hogwarts Legacy had long been rumoured, from its first leak back in 2018, where some guy recorded footage after he was stopped at a shopping centre and was asked to give his opinion. There were little noises on the internet, but nothing concrete until September 2020, when an official trailer was released and announced the game Hogwarts Legacy, due to come out in 2021. My reaction to this news was off the scale. As a true Potterhead, obsessed with gaming, depressed in the middle of a pandemic, this was the news I needed, I wanted. And I was not alone. However, at first, I was not blown away from how the game looked, unlike many others, but that would soon change. It would be delayed a few times after, but I don't think the actual hype picked up until the state of play in early 2022. A full 15 minutes of gameplay, and the fate of this game changed forever. The scale of hype was blown away. It was full on Potter mania again. Over the next year, hundreds upon hundreds of videos were made. The talk never stopped. How would sorting works? How would wands work? Is there Quidditch? I was part of this. Many probably know, but for those who don't, I was formerly Hogwarts Legacy Explained. I was a channel dedicated to this game. I appeared on live streams with much bigger guys in the community. I had interactions with the devs until I lost my channel just after the game was released. The year building up to the game was one of the most fun times I have ever experienced. Meeting new people, making friends, the expectation, the excitement and the anticipation, myself and many others were overboard. This put so much pressure on the game, as it was not just Harry Potter fans who were gamers who wanted this, to live and breathe in Hogwarts again and experience a truly magical experience. No, it was Harry Potter fans who were not gamers going out to buy a console just for this. Heck, even gamers who had no interest in Potter and the Wizarding world were excited. This must have put so much pressure on the developers, but they seemed to thrive on it. And the way their social media was handled, the SMR videos, the YouTube events, the promotion and run up to this game was done perfectly. And through all this, I was still worried, scared that by my own hype, everyone bigging it up, waiting, would be left bitterly disappointed due to Potter's history with gaming. As you can see from my channel, I am something of a Potter game expert. Despite all of their flaws, I love them and I can play them again and again and again. Well, most of them. Looking at you, Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2. Before we dive into Legacy, let's go into the Pensieve and look at the Wizarding world's history with video games. All 8 of the Potter movies had movie tie-in games, licensed from EA by Warner Bros, and they were made by Shovelware Studios. Anyone with knowledge of movie tie-in games, 99% of them, rushed, clunky, and let's be honest, not very good, and that's being kind. But not Harry Potter. This is not me wearing rose-tinted glasses or anything. The early PC, PS1 and PS2 titles of the Potter games are good. Are they masterpieces? Of course not. But they allow you to be Harry Potter, freely explore Hogwarts, learn spells, and have a truly magical time. Where it all changed was Goblet of Fire. They took away Hogwarts, free roaming, exploring, and made it a button-mashing mess, with 8 levels, 4 of which you could explore and replay again and again. I hated it as a child a lot. A lot of people say they stopped playing them after this, which is a shame, because going into the 360 PS3 era of gaming, they cleaned up their act with Order of the Phoenix, bringing back exploring, a fully realised HD Hogwarts, and from there, it was a slippery slope. Half-Blood Prince is just a game filled with 3 minigames, and the less said about the 2 Deathly Hallows games, the better. So it had been 16 years without a good Potter title. I'm not counting the Lego games because they are brilliant, and everyone knows that. So with all the hype, did Hogwarts Legacy live up to it? Well, let's finally, 6 minutes in, take a look. Firstly, let's just look at sales. While this does not show if the game itself lived up to the hype, rather just back up the expectation people had of it, it is set to be the 3rd game to outsell a Call of Duty title since 2009 and be the best-selling game of 2023. The other 2, I hear you ask, was 2013 with Grand Theft Auto 5, like the best-selling game of all time, and in 2018 with my favourite game of all time, Red Dead Redemption 2. So this feat is impressive, but although I say it does not measure if the game was good, that was half a lie, as many people have continued to buy it since its release back in February, and they've also had 2 further releases, one in May for the PS4 and Xbox One, and one in I believe October for the Nintendo Switch. So people must have heard good things to come back and buy it again for them consoles. So to answer the question, did it live up to its hype? The answer, to once again quote Dumbledore, yes and no. This game might not be one of the best games of all times. Heck, it's probably not even one of the best games of this year, but it didn't have to be. All it had to do was be a good Potter game and give the players a true Hogwarts experience and let them live out of their fantasy of being a student at the famous magical school. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad game, not at all. It's a solid to great game, depending on who you are, what type of gamer you are, and your relationship with Harry Potter and the Wizarding World. So let's start out where it did live up to the hype. Hogwarts Castle. Wow, oh wow. The castle is just chef's kiss. The attention to detail, how it's crafted and stitched together, everything about Hogwarts is brilliant. People would, and probably did, buy the game just to experience Hogwarts. The grand scale, the exterior, nothing is more cathartic than just flying around the lake and castle. This was the biggest thing going into the game, making a Hogwarts people wanted to explore. They would switch off and wander the castle corridors and grounds, and God did they do it. This is easily my favourite aspect of the game. I could wander around all day. The details from the books, little things only true Potterheads would appreciate are there, from the one-eyed witch statue to a casket with a goblet of firing up in the trophy room, the characters and teachers you meet along the way too. While some of them may feel they are ripped straight from Potter and put onto another skin, they really do fit Hogwarts. And the writing of each character was brilliant, and the wider world too. However, while Hogwarts is in the title, and it is amazing, the game seems to lose focus of the castle around halfway through, and it forces you out into the wider world, and you feel less connected to Hogwarts, and at times forget it's there, as you stray further and further from the castle walls. This also feeds into the Hogwarts student experience. Pre the first trial, you feel like a student of Hogwarts. There's lessons, challenges within the school, but after that, it feels like a Wizarding World game, not a Hogwarts game. Which is not a bad thing necessarily. I and many others would have liked a more true Hogwarts student experience. Hogwarts, in the end, is almost something that is there because of its name, and it ties you back, breaking up the story once and again. Let's wrap up on the exploration with the whole map, Hogsmeade, the forest, and all the surrounding hamlets. Being able to explore parts of the Scottish Highlands on a broom or hippogriff is one of the game's biggest strengths. Just switching off and getting lost in the magical world with so much going on, side quests, races, interesting people to meet, and of course enemies to fight. This brings me on nicely to an aspect of the game that goes above and beyond all expectations. The combat and dueling. The biggest surprise I had in regards to Legacy was its dueling and combat. There is an actual skill to it, and depending on the difficulty, can be a bit of a struggle, but this makes it an ever more engaging system. Knowing when to block, parry or dodge, the cooldown of spells, creating your spell trees and wheels, so you are not left defenceless. It is a learning curve, and to succeed at the game, it is something you must learn. Even after 60 plus hours and coming back to it after a few months off, I had to readjust. I was shaky and rusty. It does not get boring whatsoever. It is one of the game's many strengths, and possibly its second best. Once again, something that went above and beyond was the room of requirements. I didn't think for a second I would want to spend so much time in there, in almost a completely different game, designing the room to your taste. Everyone will have a different room. The vivariums and taking care of animals and beasts, playing, fetch, stroking and taking care of them if they were real pets. The room requirement was such a breath of fresh air to explore and just to switch off from for a bit and live out my best life in almost a Sims style way. The game offered so much to everyone due to its wide range of people it was targeting to play. Everyone came out with something they loved and had an amazing time with. This is brilliant, but it also came at a cost to one thing that did not live up to the hype. That being the story. I like to see the story in three different strands: the main story, the past, and our three friends, which in themselves can be split into two: the good and the bad. I want to start with the good, and there is no better place to begin than the past. The story of the Keeper and Isabella is a really good story, and I loved learning more and more about them through the trials and pensive memories. It is a compelling story, even having one of the keepers linked to one of the antagonists of the game. The four keepers in particular, Rackham and Fitzgerald, were compelling characters, and the third trial is likely my favourite mission of the game. Something more compelling was the torment and struggle of Isabella and her demise. It was all great to learn about, but even with all of this, they never take it forward into the main story. And now I want to loop that back to Rookwood and Ragnarok. They are lame villains. I would say Harlow has more of an arc and focus than Rookwood. We never really learn anything about them. They're never present. The end of the Rookwood is pathetic. I was really disappointed about both of their roles, especially because it starts with such a great promise. The main story really does suffer from pacing issues, and rather than an effort to stop Ragnarok and fight, it seems no one is bothered or interested in him, despite what he is and doing out there. And it is might more just to discover more about the ancient magic, but my biggest gripe with the story is the lack of answers we get from it in regards to ancient magic. Why do we wield ancient magic? Why do ancient magic wielders start in their 5th year? It's just all gets brushed under the carpet. For more action, it feels like the story is very bare bones and rushed. But that's not all of the story threads we have. Each of our companions have stories too, so let's start with Poppy. While the reasoning and motivation behind her love for beasts and wanting to save them from poachers is cool, her parents being poachers themselves, the actual storyline and missions feel meh. Other than the dragon one, that's a cool one. I think the problem with Poppy and Natty's missions is how good and focused the Bastion's story arc is, rather than how poor and meh theirs are. Moving on to Natty, it would have made so much more sense for her story to focus on Rookwood rather than Harlow. As I stated before, Harlow has more of an act and finish than Rookwood does. It really doesn't make any sense at all. But we're going to finish on a high, because Sebastian's story is the best of the game. The desperation and length he will go to save his sister is brilliant, and pushes the player into a really uncomfortable choices. It is also has you developing real relationships with Seb, and most importantly, Ominous Gaunt, who is possibly my favourite character in this game. Of course, this is the arc which will allow you to learn the unthinkable curses. I will say I wish you could have had more say in it, as even declining them, you still follow Sebastian down the dark path even though you don't agree with it. This storyline has the most and only real consequence in the game. I will be making a video all on consequences later. But all in all, this story gripped me and made me want to explore more with that than anything the main story did or could. So going back to the original question, did this game live up to its hype? 100%. If you're a die-hard Harry Potter fan, dreaming of exploring the magical world once again, after all this time. And I cannot wait to see what they do for a sequel in the future. Once again, a video I'll be doing. And will I be there? Once again, hyping this game up and discussing it all the way up to release? Always.